Hello, everyone. This is Nick Diliberto with the Ministry to Youth Stories podcast. Welcome to episode 7. We have Jody Livingston of the Longer Haul in Youth Ministry podcast who has joined us in this episode. And this is an amazing episode. Jody's been doing youth ministry since 1999, 1 year after me. And him and I basically just riff on a bunch of youth ministry stories. I think we have like 10 stories in this episode, and you're going to really love this episode. Our co-host, Michaela, is not with us again. She wasn't with us in episode 6, and she's not here in episode 7. But don't worry, she's still with us, just not in this episode. She's actually on a retreat with, I think, like 320 students doing a fall retreat at her church. So she will be with us next time, don't worry. And that said, let's dive into today's episode. This episode is brought to you by Ministry to Youth. We save you time and money by creating youth ministry curriculum and resources to help you more effectively point students to Jesus. The thing that separates us from everybody else is our bundles and 1-year curriculums. You can check us out online at ministry2youth.com. And a new thing that we have is children's ministry curriculum for 1st through 5th grade. So you can get all the information about that as well on our website. If you'd like to be a guest on an upcoming episode of the podcast and you have a story to share, send an email to content@ministry2youth.com. The big idea of this podcast is to hear youth ministry leaders like you sharing their stories. That's what it's all about. So we want to learn about your story. If we like it, we'll reach out to you and you could be a future guest on the podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode. We have with us Jody Livingston of the Longer Haul Youth Ministry. Jody, it's so great to have you here today.
Hey man, it's fun to be on and be back. We've been friends for a long time, way back when you were on my podcast, and super helpful for me even getting started. So yeah, I'm glad to jump in here.
Yeah, way back in the early days of the podcast. And I have to say, that's like 10 years ago, and you've definitely lived true to the name of the podcast, the Longer Haul Youth Ministry.
Yeah, well, I haven't quit, and I'm way more gray now, right, than I was then. So yeah, we just keep going. That's what we do.
And I have to say, it's great to have a fellow bald person on the podcast. I think you're actually the first. No. Okay, no, Willie Register was on a couple of episodes ago, and he's bald too. But you got a lot of facial hair, so, looking good.
Hey, you go with what you can grow,
Indeed. Well, Jody, tell us a little bit about yourself, the Longer Haul Youth Ministry podcast, your experience in youth ministry, and just give us a little history about it.
Yeah, well, I'm a youth pastor. I've been in youth ministry for 26 years. This is my 26th year, which makes me sound older than I am. I just started when I was super young.
Hey, we had Marco on a couple of weeks ago, and he's at 44 years in youth ministry.
Yeah, Marco could be my grandfather, right? I tell him all the time, thanks, Gramps. Marco's been in youth ministry almost as long as I've been alive and forgotten more than I'll ever learn, for sure. So I appreciate him, I think. And he's got really cool hair and a beard. So that's a double win.
He's got more hair than both of us combined.
That's true. So yeah, I started when I was 18 as a youth pastor, which no one should ever do. And then, just kind of stayed through bivocational for a good part of the early years there, then into a full-time role. As most youth pastors will know, some of that is kind of bifurcated, like youth and whatever, fill in the blank. And then started a blog called The Longer Haul in Youth Ministry. And then that kind of turned into podcasts, which I've been doing now for quite some time. And then just we were just talking about beforehand, just had a book released with Lifeway in June. And still running at this thing. I love the idea of us who love students and love student ministry that we continue to just run at this generation that everybody else seems to be running from. And I'm just stubborn enough to not quit. So still doing it.
That's great. Well, tell us the name of your book.
Yeah, so the book's called Staying Power, 10 Essentials for Longevity in Youth Ministry. And I tried to, the idea was, hey, when I was 18 and trying to figure this out, and I was reading Doug Fields and Duffy Robbins and, all these people at that time, there was no real voice to mentor me outside of those books. And so I wanted to be for 18-year-old Jody what he wished he had, and I want to be that for others. And so kind of boil down, what are the things that really kind of you need to know, what are essential for you to stay in this thing and do youth ministry, no pun intended, but for the longer haul. I don't think most people get into this thinking they're going to quit, but it does happen, right? A lot of us quit. And so if you can not quit and not get fired, you got a real good shot at this. But there are some things that you need to have, both personally, some ministerial things, practically, and so the book kind of leans in and covers those. And hopefully it's super helpful for folks, especially, and then really whether you're just starting out or you've been doing this thing for a while. I think just really practical, scalable, helpful in your context, whatever that looks like.
Such a needed thing to talk about in today's time, because even the church that I'm at, I've been there 3.5 years, and we've had a lot of turnover in our youth staff just in the last year or so. And I mean, obviously, you probably know the numbers more than I do based on the research of your book, but the average youth pastor has a very short time frame that they're actually in youth ministry. Matter of fact, before we jump into your story, do you have stats on that? Like, what is...
Well, the number you hear all the time is 18 months. That's what I've heard forever. I think that's a made-up stat. In fact, I know that's a made-up stat. I was talking to Ed Stetzer last year, and he was telling me, it was a group of youth pastors that kind of just, what do you think? What do you think? And they're like, about 18 months. And that just kind of became the mantra. I think it's, depending on the research, some people are saying around 5 years. I think it's probably around 2.5 to 3 is my guess. And part of that is because I think you could do youth ministry for a couple of years without Jesus if you really wanted to try. There's enough resources out there. But 2 years in, you kind of know who they are. They know who you are. The skill set that requires you from start to 2 is very different than from 3 to 5. You're going to grow more in 3 to 5 than you probably will in your entirety of ministry. And so a lot of times you know this, Nick, you'll talk to youth pastors and they'll say, man, I've been youth ministry for 10 years. You start having a conversation, you realize it's just 2 over and over and over again. And the sad part for me is if you'll just stay through that 2.5 to 3 year mark where really it's going to get really hard, on the other side of that is where you really start to experience the joy that comes in ministry. You don't even know what you're doing yet until you get
and what you're saying is 2.5 to 3 years at one church.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Just to clarify that.
Something's going to happen. 2.5 to 3. I don't know. Anybody you talk to, I don't think this is specific to youth ministry, but anybody you talk to is going to have a similar story where around that 2.5 to 3 year mark, the wheels fall off. Something crazy happens you don't expect. And sometimes it's unavoidable for you can't stay, but most of the time it's just difficult. And if you can weather that and stay, then you'll experience that joy. And then realize that every 2.5 to 3, it's going to happen again. I don't know why, but the longer you are in one place, the easier it becomes to weather those storms when they come. And so, in fact, in the back of the book, I have in the appendix, it's 7 reasons you should leave. And part of that is because there's a real reason you should. There are reasons you should consider leaving the position you're in. I don't think they're the ones we often take. But I don't want to ignore the fact or act like you should never leave. I think there's real reasons for that. And so even in that, like, hey, here's some things to consider. If you find yourself in a spot where you're like, I don't know if I should stay or not, well, let me help you on that front as well. But if you're listening and you're just starting out and this is brand new, your first 6 months, you're just trying to figure out what's up, who do I go to get checks cut, and how do I get the keys to whatever van or something like that. A year in, you've kind of got your feet under, you can make some changes. Again, that 2.5, 3 year market, it's coming. Year 5, you're going to feel like, okay, now I've got my feet under me. I can really start running. Year 7, you can evaluate, just kind of recast some vision. But until you've really seen a group of students come through your ministry, you don't even know if what you're doing is working.
Yeah. And there's so many blessings when you stay at a church for a longer period of time. Totally. It's not doable for everyone. The longest run that I had was at my first church, and that was 9 years. And it's just so amazing to be in one spot for that long, to see the fruit of that. And even now, like the church that I'm at, I've been here for 3.5 years, and just now starting to see some fruit. I wish I could stick around for 9 or 10. That's not going to happen. But the longer you are somewhere, the more fruit that you do see. Anyway, so you do have a story for us today. And I would love to just jump in and tell us the story. Let's do it.
Yeah, so, you start youth ministry at 18. There's lots of stories that could get you fired. And I'm thankful to say that didn't happen. The one comes to mind is the one I would be most embarrassed by would be, we went to camp. First year at camp. First year I'd taken kids to camp, a student, pastor. I was at a pretty small church at the time. We were we borrowed like the pastor's station wagon and like some other car. We drive up, we get there. And one of the kids in our youth group brought his cousin. His cousin was there, unchurched, right? And so he's there. Well, he finds a friend from another church group, right? And so the two of these guys are teaming up. And so then they start kind of playing pranks on everybody. And it escalates as the week goes. Now, let me say this. 26 years in now, I would say I'm sending that kid home right after the first one. He's not staying.
And you're 18, right?
I'm 18. So
you're just a couple of years older than these.
He's like probably 6 months younger than me, And but then I'm like naive enough to think, well, I can't send this kid home. Like he needs Jesus more than anybody else. And if I send him home, I'm robbing an opportunity of what God might do in his life. That sounds awesome and super spiritual. But by not sending him home, everyone else has to suffer all week, right? And so I almost shortchanged the group.
Exactly.
Based on him being there. So
I'm curious, what kind of pranks were going on up until this point right now?
There were a few that kind of escalated. The one that I remember most is he took hot sauce from the dining hall and kind of poured it all over everybody's clothes and sleeping bags.
Oh man, yeah, crossing the line there.
Some of our kids had forgotten sleeping bags, so they borrowed them from the camp staff. It was bad. It got bad worse. I mean, I knew we were in trouble. We were on our way into camp. We're going through this little narrow spot, Western North Carolina, called the Nantahala Gorge, 2-lane road that runs through the river. There's no place to pull over, no place to stop. And we have to stop and get gas right before we get to the gorge. And so we tell them, hey, stay in the car. Don't get anything. I'm pumping gas. I look up. The next thing I know, they're coming out of the gas station. They've got all this beef jerky and stuff. And I'm like, man, that's not going to end well for you. We've got a long way to go. And there's no place to stop. And, so 30 minutes later, everybody in the car, all these guys with this beef jerky are miserable. Van stinks. It's just, what is going on? No place to, and you should know then, like, this is not going well. This is not going to end well. But it didn't. So the whole week comes. It just escalates. So the hot sauce thing happens. And he just never stopped talking. Like, he was just constantly running his mouth to everybody. So every time you turn around, you're having to address him. It was just exhausting. So we're on the way home. It's an 8-hour drive home after camp, after this whole week. And he's still just going and going and going and going. And everybody's had enough. We get about a mile from the church. And I've had all I can take. And so I just pull off the interstate. And I say, you're going to walk the rest of the way. Get out. And he's like, what? And he's like, what? I was like, yeah. I can't take another minute of you in this car.
Just kick him off.
Get out of the car.
Kick him out of the car.
And he's like, you can't make me get out of the car. I said, and yet I am. And so get out of the car. So he gets out. We drive to the church. Parents are there picking up. Eventually he walks up. And then I had to explain to his parents why he was walking up. But I didn't get fired.
What was their response? I'm curious.
I mean, you'd expect them to be like, today, they'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you made my kid walk. But his dad was like, that tracks, yeah. He probably deserved it. And I'm like, yeah, you don't even know.
Yeah, today you might get sued for doing something like that.
Oh, I'd get arrested for that today. Yeah.
Arrested.
I'd get arrested. That's right. Somebody would have called the cops. They saw some kid walking. Now, my wife, who was not my wife at the time, but she was with me, and we were dating at the time, and she was like, you can't make him walk. She's so compassionate. She's like amazing. But I didn't really listen to her, and so I've learned since to always listen to Sarah. Yeah, so it made him walk back the last mile or so of camp there. And then, we had his luggage waiting for him all set out and really nice. And then he never went to camp with us again.
He never went to camp. Shocker.
Yeah. I wouldn't let him, even if he wanted to. But
what was his response when he came back? Was he really annoyed and angry, or was he like, hey?
He was really tired from walking. So that was that. I think he was just really shocked that I made him do it, And again, not every kid is like this, but that kid, you meet the parents and they're like, yeah, he probably deserved it. I'm like, oh yeah, well, you don't discipline him. I can tell. In 2-minute conversation, you let this kid do whatever he wants. And this is the problem. Fast forward to today, that happened today. He's going home day one. I'm not going to deal with that for a week. And then I certainly wouldn't make him walk, but yeah, that was a good one. That was a
That's
good
a
one.
good one. Good story, definitely. And you managed to survive that camp and stick at it for a long period of time, obviously.
Yeah, I survived camp, didn't get fired. I did have a not so fun meeting with my pastor. You know,
Yeah,
you
what was that
learn.
like?
It was not great. You know, it's
It's
not
not that
great.
great.
But I think what I had going for me is I don't know that they could have hired anyone else. Like I think it was literally the
Yeah.
only person who would say yes to that church. And so they kind of knew, like, man, if we give her to him, like, we're not gonna have
What are we gonna
anybody.
do?
What are we gonna do? Like, he's the best we've got. That's why we hired an 18-year-old because we don't know what else to do. So they kind of were stuck with me, but it was great. I mean, there were plenty of things that I did afterwards that probably also would have got me fired, but that one definitely should have.
Yeah, any that stick out to mind?
I mean, I didn't always think through things, you know, I mean, the reality was I was 18, 19, those early years there. If it sounded fun to me, we did it. Like I was in charge now. So like we did 6 lock-ins my first year because I loved
6
lock-ins.
lock-ins. Oh my
Like, man,
goodness.
I love
That's like one
lock-ins.
every other month.
Oh, it was crazy. We grew the youth group
Yeah.
by like 5 kids, you know, it was amazing.
Yeah.
And, you know, so we're doing a ton of lock-ins. I'm doing games with raw eggs in the fellowship hall, and that didn't end well because you can't get rid of that smell. I
But
learned.
what was the game with raw eggs?
So you take a big clear plastic tube and you put a raw egg in the middle and you put one
Yes.
person on either side. Can't do this anymore.
Yes.
Can't do. And again, a game you're no longer allowed to play.
I mean, not post-COVID anyway, but
No
there's
way.
a host of other reasons why not either.
So big clear plastic tube, rubber hose kind of thing. Put the raw egg in the middle. One person on one side, one person on the other, and then just blow into the tube. And they're trying to blow, you know, the raw egg into the other person. And yeah, we tried it later with Jell-O because the raw egg smelled so bad. But then we just had Jell-O stains on the ceiling.
And then, like with the raw egg, I mean, you know that one of those students is going to just get like totally
yeah.
soaked in egg.
Well, what happens
Yeah.
is somebody takes a breath.
Yeah.
So they go, and when they open their mouth, the other person's blowing, and then they just swallow the egg. Before they even realize. So,
Oh, yeah.
the
that's
things
crazy.
that you were able to do in the 90s.
Yeah. You know, this seems to be a recurring theme on the podcast so far because a lot of the people that we've had on the show are people that have been at youth ministry for a long time, including myself.
Yeah.
And we definitely got we got away with a lot more stuff back in, you know, the 90s and early 2000s.
There were no rules. There were no rules.
rules.
It was just fun. Everybody was just excited that kids were coming.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
exactly.
pizza and some crazy messy games. That's all that mattered.
Yeah. Was there anything else that almost got you fired your first few years? Just
I mean,
curious.
we broke a lot of stuff having that many lock-ins, right? I mean,
Nice.
there was just, every lock-in was more broken things. I was constantly getting called in to, you know, meetings of like, how am I going to replace something and why something is broken. And, you know, that was bad. Yeah, a lot of broken things that were really important to people that I didn't know. Just seemed, we had one of the churches that I served in was kind of had this basement, and we would do, so we were at a lock-in, and in the basement, kind of this foyer area when you come down the stairs, and someone way back when, probably in the 50s, it looked like, had built like a replica model, 3D model of the tabernacle, and it was sitting on this table. It was pretty cool actually. And we destroyed that thing in a lock-in because the lights are out, you're running, playing, you know, hide and go seek or whatever.
Yes.
Some kid hits it and you just hear pieces go everywhere. And so we spent the last 2 hours of the lock-in trying to find Elmer's glue in the preschool department and trying to glue this thing back together. And you're like, does that look right? Like, I think that's right. Where was that? You know? And so that was a bad one. We got it mostly right. I don't think anybody actually knew that. I think we got away with that one.
But you got away with it with Elmer's glue.
I think we got away with that one. Elmer's glue
Love it.
went to the rescue.
There were a few things that I got away with that nobody really ever found out, but yeah.
But to be fair, I don't know anybody was paying attention in the basement. My office was in the basement.
That's
It was
true.
like a broom closet underneath the stairs that they were like, well, we got a youth pastor. We should give him an office.
Yeah, in the basement.
Yeah, so he's going to be in the basement with no windows in the broom closet underneath the stairs.
That tracks.
Yeah, they're like, he's got an
definitely.
office. What more does he need? I don't know, like a phone would be great, guys. That'd be fantastic. There's tons of those. We did a, you know, we did an amazing race thing once. So we like across the week, everybody would come and you had different challenges. You go to the next place, you get the clue, and you go to the next place, you get the clue, and that kind of thing. And then we would track, like, whatever order they finished in the time, we would track that, and then we would just release them, like, I don't know, a minute after each the following day. And so, like, in the middle of the week, we had a sandpit volleyball court at the church. We're like, let's bury clues in the sandpit volleyball court. This is great. We'll get them out. It's summer. It's like gross. Get them digging in the sand. So we bury these clues, and we're like, man, that's great. That's great. We start the thing. It's like the fourth clue into the night. Everybody gets to the sandpit volleyball court. No one can find the clues. And we didn't take a picture of where we hid. Like, we didn't know where we hid them. We just knew we hid them. Like, and we dug them deep, man. So these kids are for 45 minutes or more, hour, just digging in this sandpit, trying to find these clues. I'm like, man, you guys are ruining my game. You can't find these clues. So we end up just having to tell them, like, just go. This is where you go next, And I was there for 9 years at that church. That was pretty early in. There were clues, I'm sure, right now, if you and I went and dug
that are still there.
We would still find them because.
So you never found some of them.
No, that week actually was that. We had so many great ideas. We had that one. A clue led them on this trail that cut across the back, and they were supposed to find a clue at a park bench. We had a kid who went to the park bench, but he didn't stop. He just kept going, and he just ended up lost in the woods somewhere. And so we had to go find him. Like, we found his shoe he's like a junior high kid. We found his shoe at the park bench. We couldn't find him. And we're like, what the heck happened to Chris? And so the search party's out looking for Chris.
Yeah.
Because we have his shoe. We're like, he got abducted. Like, I don't think, we all know Chris. I don't think he got abducted. I think he just kept walking. And so let's go find Chris. That guy's in the Navy right now doing nuclear stuff.
Okay. But so eventually you got him. You found him.
So eventually we found him before his parents got there. And
that's the key, before his parents got there.
Before his parents got there, and we got his shoes back on him. So he was both shoes and present.
Great. All put together.
Put together.
That actually reminds me of an interesting story where we were playing a crazy game, and I forgot exactly what the game was, but I was partnering up with a student who was blind, totally blind. His name's Timmy.
Wait, he was really blind?
Like, he's really blind.
So you had a student who's he was really blind, and his name was Timmy? You are not that is not true.
100%. Oh, 100%. Yeah, he was an 8th grader.
Was he on crutches?
No, he was not on crutches. Okay. Sorry. So Timmy, 8th grader, totally blind. His eyelids are actually like sewn shut. So basically, I go up this long staircase outdoors that goes to an outdoor porch area. And then I think it was Predator. And Predator is a game that, why we would name a youth ministry game called Predator, I have no idea. But it's actually the most popular game in our junior high ministry. And basically what happens is all the students go and they hide everywhere outside. They can't go inside of the building, but they go outside everywhere on campus. And we have a pretty large campus, and they just hide. And then all the leaders have dodgeballs, and we have to find them. And if we find them and throw the dodgeball at them, then they are eliminated. So, and we'll do like a couple of rounds per night when we do it. And it's like each round's 10 minutes. So I'm up these stairs, long staircase, probably like 30 feet or more in the air, outdoor porch area. And then I see a student, and I can't get them with the dodgeball. So I'm like, Timmy, stay here. And then I chase down this student. And then I end up not even getting the kid out. And then I'm like, oh, I just left blind Timmy stairs. Like, if he walks, he could literally die by going down the stairs, right? So then I go back upstairs to find Timmy, and he's gone. I'm like, Timmy, what did I do? Why did I leave Timmy? And luckily, another leader found him by himself, and he's like, Nick, where are you? And then another leader finds him, grabs him, and I see that he's okay. But for a minute there, I was a little bit worried about Timmy.
We did a lockout one time, and so we would start at the church, and we'd kind of go to different places, right? So we go from there, we go to this mini golf and go-kart place, and then we'd go across town to this other bowling place. We'd do a bunch of different stuff. And so we're doing mini golf to start with, putt-putt, and my kids were smaller at the time, and so I'm taking my son to the restroom. He needs to go to the restroom. So I take him into the restroom, and all of a sudden I hear the door bust open, right? And you hear this shuffling around. They're like, oh my gosh. And I'm in the stall with my kid, and I hear like, there's so much blood. There's blood everywhere. And I'm like, what is going on? They're like, don't tell Pastor Jody. We're going to be in so much trouble. And I'm like, what is going? They're just going on and on and on. So I'm like, finally I just open the bathroom stall, and they're there, and they're just the deer in the headlights, like, oh crap. And one of the guys he was going to hit the ball as hard as he could. This putt-putt thing. So he swings it really hard, misses, hits a rock, shears off the club. It like jabs into his leg. This massive cut. There's blood. It's just bleeding all over. Man. One of our volunteers was with us. It was a nurse, came in, and she kind of starts trying to bandage it up. Call his mom and dad. This kid's always hurt. This kid gets hurt everything we did. And she's like, oh. So I literally answer the phone, and she's like, what happened? What did he do this time? I'm like, well, so I tell him he kind of somehow hurt himself playing mini golf, and he's going to need some stitches. She's like, okay. So they come pick him up, take him to the hospital. We go to the next spot. We're bowling or whatever. He gets stitches, and then they bring him and drops him back off. The next thing, it's just like this.
So wait, he goes to the hospital to get stitches, or does the nurse stitch him up?
No, goes to the hospital to get stitches.
Okay.
And then they bring him back, and he's at the bowling alley. And I'm like, listen, man, I don't know how you get hurt playing putt-putt. Please, not here. Not at the bowling alley, okay? If the putt-putt place is dirty, this place is gross. So you can't get hurt here. There's always somebody like that. But I never had a blind kid named Timmy.
Blind kid. I never really even put that together,
like
blind kid Timmy. Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's so funny.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Great kid.
Why was he playing the game at all?
Because, so there was this whole thing, and this is just a couple of years ago, so this is not even,
this is
not the old Nick. Like, I have a lot of great stories, old Nick. This is like recent Nick, like 2.5 years ago. So he was a part of our youth group. He was the sibling of one of the leaders in our junior high ministry. And we really wanted to integrate him as much as possible. So like I was the 8th grade, he was in 8th grade. And at that time I was his small group leader. So I would usually team up with him on games so he could play because we want him to have fun. And usually I would give him the ball. And if there's a kid really close by, I would just say, okay, throw the ball straight ahead. Yeah. And we would play dodgeball. Like literally, I would actually use him to my advantage in playing dodgeball.
Yeah, I bet I feel bad. Timmy, I'm still in.
I would feel bad about this, but then like it would secretly give me a lot of pleasure because what I would do is when we were playing dodgeball, like typical dodgeball, nobody would try to throw it at Timmy. So I would hold on to him with one arm and we would go all the way up to the line and all the kids were really nice. So even if they have a clean shot, nobody would throw it, right? And then I would just say, Timmy, like throw as hard as you can straight ahead. And he would throw and he would be a part of it, right? But I would let him do that a few times. And then what I would do is I'd sneak up to the line with him. I'm holding the ball, but instead of giving it to Timmy, I would just like snipe a kid. And I'm like, you're out, dude. And they're like, what? Why would you do that? And so I would give Timmy like 3 throws and I would take a throw and always get a kid. And I'm like, Timmy, hey, we got a kid. He's like, yeah, that's great.
We did a thing with another church across town, dodgeball tournament. The youth pastor, we were similar age. He's a little bit older than me. We were playing dodgeball and he's throwing, we're in there just beasting these junior high kids. And he throws it so hard, he throws his shoulder out of place. Like it's dislocated. Well, his wife is there. She's a nurse. And she's like, oh, I can put that back in. And he's like, what? And he is like, pasty white, sweating. He's like, it's just bad. So they go out, bring him out to the lobby. She's like, yeah, I can totally do this. So she's like, I'm going to just sit in this chair. I'm going to take my foot. I'm going to put it right here, kind of in your armpit. I'm going to grab here. And she said, I want you to count down from 10. So he's like, 10, 9. She's like, back, and pops it back in. I thought he was going to melt. I thought he was going to pass out. He was like, oh my gosh, have you ever done that before? She's like, no, but I've always wanted to.
Oh, that's great.
And she's like, and I don't think you should play dodgeball anymore. And so now every time I'm playing dodgeball, I'm like, man, I don't want to throw my shoulder out of place. I got to take it easy, I don't have a wife who's a nurse who can pop it back in.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah,
Love it.
there's a lot of injury. We got to be careful.
Hey, you'd have to be careful, and no matter how careful you are, sometimes something's still going to happen.
Of course, yeah. And we're way more careful now than we used to be.
We are. Other than when I left Timmy
Other
at the
than
top of the
Timmy.
stairs.
Except for Timmy.
I did, in my defense, I did say, Timmy, stay here.
Yeah.
Don't move.
Yeah.
There's stairs right there, but I'm going.
Yeah. I mean, he's blind, he's not deaf, so he should have heard that.
Exactly, yes. And it all turned out okay. He was never injured in any of the games that we did. And you should have seen him on the balloon stomp game. He liked that one a lot, even though I don't think he actually ever got anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
He had a lot of fun.
Dude, you need to bring Timmy on the show.
We should bring Timmy on the show. Actually, I have a lot of students that I would like to bring on the show, and they have stories that would be great to hear from them. So maybe one day, who knows?
Nick, did you ever stage breakdowns? I used to do this a lot when I was first started.
No.
I always thought I read some book early on about like memory makers, or I think is what it's called. It's like YS resource. So it's like all these different ways to make memories that kids would remember, right? And so that was like, oh man, that's great. We didn't have a ton of budget, but there's some creative ways we could do memories. So I used to stage a breakdown on every trip that we'd go
Like a
on.
breakdown, like the car breaks down?
Like the car breaks down. Like, oh man, we broke down. Gosh. Again, let me just get up here and see if I can figure it out, Oh, but then sometimes you actually really would break down. Then you're trying to like, I can't fix this one, this is not a thing. Yeah, I used to do that all the time. I had a kid fake arrested once in Sunday school.
Well, I want to hear the story of the fake arrested, but then I also want to go back to the fake breakdown, but let me hear that story.
Yeah, so I thought it would be fun. We had a guy we knew was a cop, and I was like, hey, so
I thought it'd be fun.
Come get this kid out of Sunday school, and just bring him to the donut shop. But pretend like you're arresting him, and then we'll have donuts with him and just talk to him about life and how he's doing and stuff. But I didn't tell the parents I was doing it. I didn't tell anybody who was doing it.
And the kid didn't know that it was
No, he didn't know. He didn't know. Just me and the cop.
And the goal of this was what? I'm just curious.
To make a memory.
To make a memory. A traumatic memory.
Well, I just, in my head, again, young, right? Very young. In my head, I thought, this would be so cool. Like, everybody's going to remember the time that this kid got arrested, but not really. And he's going to be freaking out, and they're going to bring him to the Krispy Kreme, and I'm going to be sitting there. And then we're going to have donuts together, and then I'm going to drive him back to the church. And we'll be back before Sunday school's over, and it'll be fine. Except the moment this kid gets arrested, you know what happens, right? Everybody starts talking about, oh my gosh, they got arrested in Sunday school. So his parents are finding out, like...
And what are the charges? Like, what are the police saying to him? Well, why
they're not
he's
saying,
arrested?
this is some kid. He has no idea. He's just like, oh gosh, okay. Put your hands behind your back,
Maybe he did something.
What did I do?
We
You
don't
know
know
what
it.
you did. You know what you did. Don't play dumb with me, kid. I don't know. I wasn't there. I was at the donut shop. I have no idea what went down.
Yeah, you're not even there.
No, I'm waiting at the donut shop, like for this kid to show up in the police car. So, memory made, but not advisable.
Yeah. So,
hey, funny story though. That kid is a cop today.
He's a cop. Maybe
Legit,
he did
he is a
make
cop today.
an appropriate memory. Yeah.
He's like,
wow.
I'm gonna do
so
this
was
the
he in
rest of
tears, or what was his
Yeah.
general state?
Yeah, he was hyperventilating. Like everybody in the room was like, "You can't take him." Yeah.
And then when he saw you, and then he realized that it was all a hoax, what was his reaction? Was it anger, relief,
It
or
was
what?
kind of like confusion.
Like, why would you do this to me?
What is happening?
You're supposed
right
to be
now?
here to support me, not.
And I'm like, man, I just thought we'd do something fun, have some donuts together, talk about it, and then we'll go back before church is over. And
he's a cop today. That's
he's
crazy.
a cop. Yeah, he's a cop. So
Okay,
he was pretty clumsy, but he was good.
Okay, so going back to the staged breakdown, like,
Yeah.
what would that look like?
You'd just be driving along, like, oh man, you start pumping, oh gosh, we're having some car trouble. We got to pull over. And if you ask those kids today, like, what do you remember most about student ministry? They'll talk about their time they broke down on whatever trip.
Would you ever let them in that it was a hoax?
No, to this day, they think they're real. To this day, they think they're. Although one time we really did break down on the way to camp. Like the transmission went out on the van, and we were an hour and a half away from camp, and we were in the mountains. We couldn't get a hold of anybody. So all I had was like a case of water and a van full of kids. So we get the kids out. We're like in a safe spot on the shoulder of the road. We're there for, I don't know, 4 hours or something like this. And these kids just keep drinking water because we want them to stay hydrated. But now they all got to pee. And we're like, there's no bathroom. There's no place to go. What are we doing? We finally get a hold of somebody from the camp. They're like an hour and a half away. They come pick us up. So there's 15 of us in this van. And now there's 15 of us and the new van with the van drivers. And there's 16 of us. So we got some kids sitting on the wheel well or in the floor or something, it's like a third world country, putting kids in on a mission trip. We get to camp. We were supposed to get there at like 3 o'clock. We're rolling in at 10:30 at night. It's super late. All the staff counselors are come running up because they want to be excited for us to get there. My kids just need to find a restroom, like now. So the doors bust open. All the counselors are like, hey, welcome to camp. And the kids just run right past them to the restroom. And the camp counselors are looking around like, what the heck just happened, you know? But we were there forever, broke down. But yeah, I used to, not every trip. We didn't break down every trip, but pretty often I'd stage a breakdown somewhere and, you know, we'd play cards or something while I fixed the van or whatever.
What's wild to me is that these students don't even know that it was staged.
Well, no, I never told
years
them.
later.
Because I didn't want to ruin the memory, you know. Now, they know the arrest was staged.
Right, yeah.
I was really clear on that.
How many years did you do the staged breakdown before you realized, hey, maybe I should stop this?
I would do it off and on. I probably did it off and on for about 10 years. Like, you know, across a couple churches. Because, again, you get to the new church, well, they don't know anything about this. So
yeah.
We're going to start again, you know. Like, you just get in there like, the van won't start. I don't know what's going on.
That's funny.
Yeah, I mean, you think, honestly, though, I mean, as silly as that sounds, and we laugh and joke about that, it was such a simple thing then, and it you know, maybe a different time. I don't know if you do that today or not, but it was fun. It was just really fun, and those kids are sitting there on the side of the road or wherever we're at. If we broke down at a gas station, you know, just making memories and locking each other in the bathroom. We were doing a trip one time, and we're coming through the mountains of East Tennessee. Had a couple girls go into this gas station. We just stopped and get gas. Kind of a sketchy gas station, but they go into the restroom, and the doorknob breaks off.
Oh.
And they can't get out.
And they can't get out.
They can't get out. No one seems to have a key to this bathroom. We're like, why does no one? You work here. How do you not have a key to this thing? And they're like, I don't know. We don't. So there's like a subway inside the gas station, you know. And so the guy, this kid who's working at Subway, he hears what's going on. He's like, oh, I can break in. We're like, what? He's like, yeah, I can break in this door. So he pulls out this, you know, credit card or whatever. He goes over and first try, just bang, opens the door. I'm like, bro, you've done that a lot.
Whoa.
Like, you don't just, that's not a thing you just do. You figure that. He's like, maybe once or twice. You know, I'm like, what's going on? But they're in there. They're in there for probably, you know, 20 minutes while we're trying to figure out how to get them out.
Wow. Good thing that he was there. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, I'm like, look, we're going to break the door down one way or the other. We're halfway to our trip. We've got to get these kids out. But they'll talk about, but that's the moments kids talk about. And that's the thing I think, you know, if you're listening to this and you're still trying to figure, like the things you stress out about of getting right, they're important. But the things that kids will remember is just when the crazy stuff goes wrong. Like they remember the breakdowns, real or fake. They remember being locked in the bathroom. Like that trip was an amazing trip. I could tell you tons of stuff that happened on that trip that was really, really good. But what they remember is getting locked in the bathroom. When those two girls got locked in the bathroom, couldn't get out, and the subway guy broke them out. The kid who didn't bring sunscreen on the river tubing and got super sunburned. You know, like those things, those are the memories that carry forward. And those aren't messages from the front. Those aren't sermons that I'm giving. Those aren't even, sometimes they're planned. Most of the time they're not. But those things are what cement memories and bond groups together and a student pastor or youth pastor with their kids, because you can sit around and you can talk about, hey, you remember that time that happened? Yeah. That was crazy, you know.
That's so true. I mean,
and it cost you nothing. They cost you nothing. And so you don't have to have a ton of money.
Yeah.
But don't have someone arrested.
Don't have someone arrested. Maybe
and don't make someone
stage
walk.
Breakdowns on a trip.
You can maybe stage one, but stage in a safe spot.
And when things go wrong, what we end up doing, like you said, is we beat ourselves up, or you know, we have to face the consequences of whatever it is. But you really are true. You're correct. Where those are the memory makers. Those are the moments that students remember.
Like even as a parent, I think that
bond everyone together.
If you're a parent and you're in youth ministry, the reality is this: you're going to make less money than most who are less educated than you, right? You might sit there with an MDiv or something, and your friends' parents have less education to make more money than you. They probably have more vacation than you, because camp, some people would think camp is your vacation. It's not. And so your kids, if you're not careful, sometimes your kids will start comparing. You'll start comparing. You'll start feeling bad about that. But the reality is, you have advantages that they don't have. You get to chaperone events. Maybe your schedule's a little more flexible at times. When they hit the teen years, you're being paid to hang out with your kid at their school. So there's things. Sometimes a church member will have a cabin they'll let you use, or a beach house they'll let you use for a weekend or something like that. There are things there, but the memories that you can make, you don't have to spend a ton of money on a vacation to make a memory. We have often found ourselves over the years just on a random Saturday going, man, what's the craziest thing we could do right now? And it's like, literally like 2 months ago, we were sitting here and I said the same thing. What's the craziest thing we could do right now? And one of my kids like, man, what if we drove down to Dana Point, which is down by Laguna Beach, and we got Italian ice from Rita's? It's like a 2-hour deal for us with traffic. And we're like, okay, we don't have anything else to do. Let's go. So we literally drive down. We get there 30 minutes before it closes, grab Italian ice, stop and grab fries at In-N-Out, and then get back later that night. It's just a memory. We're just hanging out in the car.
I love it. That's great.
It cost me $20 and then some gas, which is probably more than $20 in California. But that same principle ties to your family, ties to your student ministry. You can make memories for very little, and that gives you so much. Man, it's just chips in your bank when it comes to have a real serious time and a talk with a kid. You've built relationships through these memories that have been made.
Yeah,
Oftentimes
so true.
Chaos.
And the longer you're at a church and you do stick it out for the long haul, then the more memories that you have. And I mean, I could literally talk to some students that were in my youth ministry that are now in their maybe mid 30s or early 30s. And we can talk about that time at camp when, everything I forgot what episode I talked about it in, but it was just one of those camp chaos stories. And they can remember that, 20-something years ago when it happened.
Yeah. I literally had a conversation recently with a student who's, same thing, married with her own kids now, serving in student ministry, in their student ministry as volunteers. And it was like, hey, do you remember that year at camp when it rained every single day and rec got canceled and we ended up just running and sliding through the field in the mud? She's like, that was the best year of camp ever. And I'm like, what? That was miserable. We were all wet and gross and there was nothing to do. She's like,
the time it was miserable, but looking back on it, it was best.
She's like, it was so much fun. I just remember all of us in the mud, having that mud fight and sliding through the mud. I'm like, yeah, it was great. It was great. Of course. Yeah. It was the best.
Good times. Well, Jody, we did a lot more stories than I thought we were going to. So thanks for us, or just being willing to kind of riff. And you would remind me of a story, I would remind you of a story, and we just kept going back and forth. So thanks so much for joining us on today's episode. Tell us a little bit about what the Longer Haul and Youth Ministry podcast is, and maybe a little bit about your book and where people can find you.
Yeah, I mean, thelongerhaul.com is the best place to go for everything there. You'll find the podcast there. There's links to the book there. The coaching stuff is there. All of the resources and stuff are there. But yeah, the goal of the podcast is very similar to the book. I want to help you stay in this and practical, scalable things, regardless of your context, that will encourage you along the way and help you last, because there's too much at stake for us to just give up. And this thing is way harder than we realize when we start, and it will eat you alive if you're not careful and mindful. We can sit and laugh and joke about these stories and what that means, but sometimes in those moments, man, it's tough to endure. And so hear me say this, regardless of whether you ever listen to my podcast or do anything with me, man, thanks for what you're doing. If you're listening, if you're running towards students, thanks for doing that. I mean, I'm so grateful for people who run towards this generation that seems like everybody else is running from, and what you're doing matters more than you think. And your fruit might be growing on another tree. You may never see the fruit, but it's there, and God is going to honor your faithfulness. And so pursue that over fruitfulness and see what the Lord does. But
sweet. Good deal. Well, thanks again for the episode. Appreciate you spending some time.
Yeah. Thanks, Nick.
All right. Have a good one.
All right, you too.
This episode is brought to you by Ministry to Youth. We save you time and money by creating youth ministry curriculum and resources to help you more effectively point students to Jesus. The thing that separates us from everybody else is our bundles and one-year curriculums. You can check us out online at ministry2youth.com. And a new thing that we have is children's ministry curriculum for 1st through 5th grade. So you can get all the information about that as well on our website. If you'd like to be a guest on an upcoming episode of the podcast and you have a story to share, send an email to content@ministry2youth.com. The big idea of this podcast is to hear youth ministry leaders like you sharing their stories. That's what it's all about. So we want to learn about your story. If we like it, we'll reach out to you and you could be a future guest on the podcast. Well, everyone, thanks for listening or watching today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. A lot of just great stories back and forth between Jody and I, and that was a lot of fun. I think of the many stories that were in that episode, one of them was planned. The rest of them were basically on the fly. So lots of fun for sure. And last time I caught up with Jody was about 10 years ago. So great to catch up with him. Be sure to check out his podcast. And also, if you enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, follow, whatever platform you're listening or watching on. Just go ahead and make sure to follow us so that every time we release a new episode, that it just pops up in your feed. And then also, please rate us. Rate us on Spotify or Apple Podcast or wherever you're listening to today's podcast. And be sure to check out ministry2youth.com. Until next time, hope you have a great day.